The presentation follows a closed logical loop and is divided into 6 core sections. 0106. First, research background and introduction to establish a problem-oriented framework. Second, an in-depth analysis of the linguistic features of Malay vocabulary to provide a theoretical basis for tool design. Third, a detailed breakdown of the architectural design of the Xi'an vocabulary list framework. Fourth, discussion of concrete implementation plans for classroom teaching and self-directed learning. Fifth, scientific evaluation of the system's efficacy via experimental data. And sixth, clear operational guidelines for users of all types. This structure aligns with the standards of both academic paper presentations and product RUD debriefs. The target audience is precisely defined to cover all core stakeholders in the language education ecosystem. First, frontline Malay language teachers who work directly with learners. Second, curriculum designers responsible for building course frameworks. Third, EdTech practitioners developing language learning products. And finally, the largest group Malay learners themselves, especially those tired of rote memorization, seeking evidence-based efficient learning methods, and eager to improve long-term vocabulary retention and practical communicative competence. The content follows cognitive logic, starting with why, motivation for the project, analyzing the current state and background of Malay vocabulary learning, moving to what, the product itself, detailing the underlying framework and design philosophy of the Xi'an vocabulary list, then to how, implementation, demonstrating classroom interventions and self-study strategies, followed by proof, validation, verifying efficacy with real-world case studies and empirical data, and ending with action. Application, providing actionable, concrete operational advice. This structure ensures audiences gain a holistic understanding spanning from theoretical foundations to practical execution. Malay language profile. As a core branch of the Malayo-Polynesian language family, it serves as the official language of Malaysia, Bahasa Melayu, Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia, Brunei, Bahasa Melayu, and Singapore, Bahasa Melayu. Notably, while Indonesian differs from Malaysian Malay in some vocabulary, their grammatical cores are highly consistent. With over 300 million global speakers, Malay ranks among the world's most widely used languages after English, Mandarin, and Hindi. Modern Malay primarily uses the Latin-based Rumi script, though the Arabic-derived Jawi script remains in use in Singapore and certain religious contexts. 3 core practical challenges plague current Malay learning. First, frequency mismatch. Vocabulary presented in traditional textbooks often does not align with words used most frequently in daily life, leaving learners with knowledge they rarely apply and gaps where needed vocabulary was never taught. Second, rule ambiguity. Complex affixation patterns, e.g., prefixes br, me, ter, circumfix kun, suffix can, lack systematic summarization in existing materials, making it difficult for learners to apply known rules to acquire new words. Third, content gap. There is a severe shortage of structured learning materials that tightly integrate vocabulary with real-world scenarios such as shopping, medical visits, and business negotiations, hindering the transfer of knowledge to practical use. With the entry into force of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, CEP, and deepening China-ASEAN cooperation, economic, trade, cultural, and academic exchanges in Southeast Asia are growing exponentially. Whether for cross-border e-commerce operations, international engineering management, or studying in Malaysia, there is surging demand for efficient Malay proficiency. A scientifically graded, standardized vocabulary framework acts as scaffolding to support learners' rapid progress, shortening the learning curve from zero proficiency to fluent communication and directly empowering career advancement. The Xi'an vocabulary list is fundamentally a big data-driven vocabulary ecosystem. Rather than relying on subjective expert judgment to select entries, it mines terabyte-scale Malay corpora, including news, novels, Twitter posts, TV show subtitles, etc., to precisely calculate the occurrence frequency of every lexical item. Building on this, the system categorizes vocabulary along 3 dimensions: difficulty, star rating, and thematic relevance, e.g., airport, restaurant, office, shifting learning from a one-size-fits-all approach to a precision-targeted model. The system's 3 design principles were developed through rigorous deliberation. First, the high-frequency first principle ensures learners master the highest utility vocabulary first, enabling immediate application to basic survival needs such as greetings and asking for directions. Second, the context is king principle rejects isolated word lists. Every entry is anchored to authentic sentences. Third, The goal-oriented principle offers maximum flexibility. The system supports short-term learners focused on travel spoken Malay just as effectively as long-term researchers preparing to write academic papers. To address Malay's unique characteristics, the RUD team implemented in-depth localized adaptations. First, the system optimizes search and display logic specifically for Malay's affix-based word formation rules. Second, for the large number of loanwords in Malay, e.g., the English loanword computer, the Chinese loanword te, the Sanskrit loanword swara, sound, the system explicitly annotates etymological origins to support associative memory. Third, the system clearly distinguishes between lexical variants across Malaysia, Indonesia, and other regions to prevent cross-regional miscommunication. Traditional Malay vocabulary lists suffer from inherent mechanical flaws. For example, alphabetically ordered lists often introduce obscure words like aardvark, a rarely used noun, before high-frequency essentials like apa, what, a cognitively illogical structure that leads to high input but low output. Worse still, traditional lists typically only provide word translation pairs, with no guidance on part of speech, collocations, or usage rules, meaning learners may memorize a word but remain unable to construct grammatically correct sentences with it. Modern corpus linguistics provides microscope-like precision for vocabulary selection. By cleaning and analyzing massive volumes of authentic text, developers can map lexical heat maps of usage frequency. For instance, corpus analysis reveals that makan, eat, occurs far more frequently in spoken Malay than its placement in standard textbooks would suggest. This data-driven sequencing allows curriculum designers to customize targeted survival kits for tourists and negotiation kits for business professionals, drastically improving learning relevance and conversion rates. Malay's unique word formation rules necessitate a shift in learning strategy. Its structure centers on the combination of roots and affixes. For example, the root ajar, to teach, can be combined with different affixes to form belajar, to learn, mengajar, to instruct, and pelajar, student. Malay also extensively borrows from other languages. Arabic contributes kitab, book, Portuguese contributes meja, table, etc. Most distinctively, Malay uses reduplication. Roma indicates plural houses, while kuning conveys light yellow or degree. Mastering these rules enables learners to master one root, acquire 10 related words, the exact logic behind the Shuyun system's promoted root-first learning approach. Vocabulary frequency distribution in Malay perfectly conforms to Zipf's law. A tiny fraction of high-frequency words constitutes the vast majority of daily language use. Statistical data shows that mastering the top 1,000 high-frequency words covers approximately 80% of daily conversational texts, while the top 2,000 words push coverage to over 88%. This means focusing on these 2,000 core words early in the learning process delivers an immediate sense of achievement, significantly boosting learners' confidence to continue. Beyond general core vocabulary, specialized domains have their own jargon. Business contexts are filled with terms like invoice and logistics. Academia uses terminology such as hypothesis and methodology. This proves that single-dimensional vocabulary lists cannot meet diverse learner needs, necessitating a dual-layer core domain-specific structure. The Shuyun vocabulary list's graded organization is built on this linguistic principle, ensuring learners solidify foundational knowledge before pursuing specialized expansion. Significant regional diversity exists across the Malay-speaking world. While Malaysian Malay, Bahasa Melayu, and Indonesian, Bahasa Indonesia, share the same linguistic roots, they contain false friends. For example, Kereta refers to a car in Malaysia but primarily denotes a train in Indonesia. Perpustakaan is the formal term for library in both, though Indonesians commonly abbreviate it to perpus. That said, the two varieties share nearly identical core grammar and basic vocabulary, e.g., ibu for mother, air for water. The Shuyun vocabulary list explicitly annotates these regional differences to prevent learner confusion. Preliminary research identifies 5 key barriers for Malay learners. First, affix ambiguity. Prefixes like ter can indicate either passive voice or accidental occurrence, a distinction that easily confuses beginners. Second, false cognate traps. Words like policy mean police in Malay but policy in English, similar in form but entirely different in meaning. Third, inappropriate collocations. Conventional Malay collocations differ from English or Mandarin norms. For instance, the English phrase eat soup cannot be directly translated as makan sup. The correct Malay expression is minum sup. Fourth, nuanced meanings of reduplication. Different reduplication patterns, a, bb, convey distinct grammatical meanings, yet textbooks often explain these vaguely. Fifth, disorganized materials. Existing textbooks arrange vocabulary haphazardly, lacking a well-structured progressive learning ladder. Synthesizing these features, an ideal Malay vocabulary system must deliver 4 core functions. First, a hierarchical structure with clear distinctions between beginner, intermediate, and advanced content. Second, a route-oriented design to support learning by analogy. Third, frequency-based sequencing to ensure 学以致用, immediate practical application. Fourth, regional adaptability accounting for variance across Malaysia, Indonesia, and beyond. Benchmarking analysis confirms the Shiyun vocabulary list's core architecture aligns strongly with these requirements, particularly in root association and frequency grading, demonstrating exceptional theoretical compatibility. At the micro level, the list's organization is thoughtfully structured. Within each CFR proficiency level, vocabulary is further segmented into thematic modules including daily life, travel, workplace communication, and social-emotional interaction, allowing learners to target specific gaps in their knowledge as needed. Critically, the system abandons traditional alphabetical ordering in favor of a root clustering method. All words sharing the same root, e.g., a jar and its derived forms, are grouped under a single entry, visually mapping Malay's word formation network and drastically reducing cognitive load for memorization. The vocabulary list undergoes a rigorous hybrid data-driven human expert screening process. First, a balanced corpus containing hundreds of millions of tokens is constructed, covering daily conversations, news reports, social media posts, academic journals, and classic literary works. Second, algorithms calculate both the frequency and dispersion, cross-text distribution, of every lexical item, prioritizing vocabulary comment across diverse domains. Third, expert review is conducted by senior Malay language instructors and linguists to verify difficulty annotations and cultural appropriateness. Finally, a dynamic update mechanism is implemented, with revisions every 2 years to incorporate internet neologisms such as viral, to spread virally, and e-wallet, electronic wallet. Each entry in the Shiyun vocabulary list functions as a mini dictionary, containing 6 core metadata fields. 1 root network, clearly maps etymological relationships between the entry and other members of its word family. 2 core definitions, lists the most common definitions and part-of-speech tags, with less frequent definitions placed afterward. 3 collocation information, details conventional adjacent lexical items, e.g., minum kopi, drink coffee. 4 authentic example sentences, all examples are sourced from real corpora to eliminate Chinglish-style Malay expressions. 5 pronunciation guide, provides international phonetic alphabet, IPA, notation or standard pronunciation references. 6 usage notes, highlights register differences, formal versus informal, regional variations, Malaysian versus Indonesian usage, and common learner errors. The system deeply integrates the kernel of the spaced repetition system, SRS, algorithm. Based on each word's difficulty coefficient and the learner's mastery level, the system calculates the memory decay critical point and pushes review tasks at optimal intervals. More challenging affixed words are scheduled for more frequent review, while simpler basic words have extended review intervals. Meanwhile, a visual progress bar tracking advancement from a E to C2 allows learners to clearly see their growth trajectory. This gamified feedback mechanism effectively counteracts boredom and frustration common in language learning. Five-step classroom implementation guide. 1. Pre-learning warm-up. Teachers release theme-related core vocabulary via the platform before class, allowing students to complete initial familiarization so valuable classroom time can be devoted to practice rather than rote reading. 2. Internalization. Leverage the list's thematic modules to design interactive activities such as vocabulary chain games and scenario-based role-plays, enabling students to learn through play. 3. Differentiated instruction. 4 mixed proficiency classrooms. Use the list's E, C2 grading to assign advanced learners extensive reading vocabulary while helping struggling students consolidate foundational content, tailoring instruction to individual needs. 4. Deconstruction. Use the root clustering feature to deliver mini-lectures on word formation rules, teaching students to derive new words by adding affixes and build word guessing skills. 5. Formative assessment. Utilize the list's built-in question bank to administer 5 to 10-minute weekly quizzes, diagnosing learning status in real time to adjust instructional focus. Self-learner action guide. Proficiency placement. Beginners should avoid starting from page 1 blindly. First, complete the platform's 3-minute placement test to accurately identify whether they are at A, B, or another level, avoiding unproductive effort. Habit building. Set micro goals, such as learning 10 to 15 new words and reviewing old ones during daily commutes, 15 to 20 minutes total, prioritizing consistency over cramming. Context immersion. Do not fixate on Chinese translations. Read example sentences aloud, imitate intonation, and internalize word positioning within sentences. Goal targeting. Travelers should lock into the travel-themed module immediately. Foreign trade professionals should focus on the business module to quickly acquire practical skills. Progress tracking. Take online mock tests monthly to watch your level advance from a 1 to a 2, sustaining motivation through a sense of achievement. Curriculum Top-Level Design Integration Plan. For curriculum developers, the Xi'an vocabulary list provides standardized ingredients. Standards alignment. The list's A, C, her grading fully aligns with CFAR benchmarks, making it easy for schools to adopt as the basis for credit-bearing courses. Scientific sequencing. When designing textbook units, use the list's frequency data to sequence new vocabulary, ensuring Unit 1 teaches high-utility words like apa, siapa, what, who, rather than obscure nouns. Learner adaptation. The modular design supports secondary customization for diverse groups, add visuals and nursery rhymes for children, emphasize survival Malay for adult learners, and leverage the advantage of Chinese loanwords for ethnic Chinese learners. Skill reinforcement. A solid vocabulary foundation supports all 4 language skills. For example, reading classes can use the list's high-frequency word bank to create graded readers, while writing classes can draw on collocation data to design sentence pattern drills. Case Study 1. Empirical evidence from 0 beginner adult classes. Subjects: 25 native English-speaking university students with no prior Malay proficiency. Intervention. The experimental group used the Xi'an core layer as their primary textbook, with 10 core words taught in depth per class plus interactive activities. The control group continued using a traditional alphabetically ordered vocabulary list. Data collection. Vocabulary-sized tests and oral productive vocabulary assessments were administered pre-semester and at the end of the 12-week term. Key findings. The experimental group's receptive vocabulary size, words they could recognize in listening reading, was 18% larger than the control group's. Crucially, in oral productive vocabulary tests, requiring active, accurate use of words, the experimental group scored 25% higher. Student feedback. Learners reported that the clear difficulty progression and authentic example sentences made them feel confident to speak up and overcome the fear of making mistakes. Case Study 2. Advanced Self-Learners Proficiency Breakthrough. Subjects: 18 aspiring professionals with over 2 years of prior Malay learning experience, aiming to reach professional working proficiency within 6 months. Intervention. Participants used the Xi'an domain-specific and expansion layers alongside a mobile SRS app, focusing on business and legal vocabulary. Quantitative outcomes. After 6 months, participants' active vocabulary, words they could use spontaneously, increased by an average of 850 words, and scores on business writing assessments rose by 19%. Qualitative feedback. Learners particularly praised the collocation information, which helped them avoid awkward Chinglish-style errors, for example, correctly using Menggantar ML, send an email, rather than incorrect literal translations. Core value. This demonstrates the system is not only suitable for beginners but also helps advanced learners break through plateaus to achieve domain-specific professional proficiency. Comprehensive quantitative evaluation results. Retention rate. After 12 weeks of learning, the experimental group achieved a vocabulary retention rate of 72%, compared to only 58% in the control group, a 14 percentage point gap that demonstrates the power of spaced repetition and structured learning. Growth rate. The experimental group mastered 15% more new words per month than the control group, reflecting significant efficiency gains. Accuracy. The experimental group's collocation error rate in speaking and writing fell by 23%, confirming the error correction value of the list's collocation guidance. Performance by learner group. Elementary learners gained the most benefit in receptive vocabulary, listening and reading, while advanced learners showed the most notable improvement in productive vocabulary, speaking and writing. Statistical significance. All differences passed statistical significance tests at p = 0.05, confirming that results are not due to chance and that the Xi'an vocabulary list delivers tangible efficacy. In-depth analysis of qualitative feedback. Frontline insights from teachers and learners point to clear priorities for improvement. Teacher perspectives. Educators most valued the graded structure, reporting it significantly reduced lesson preparation workload by eliminating the need to manually select appropriate vocabulary for learners at different levels. Learner perspectives. Beginners appreciated the step-by-step progression, noting that each learning step felt solid and manageable. Intermediate and advanced learners preferred the thematic modules, which allowed them to quickly locate vocabulary relevant to their work needs. Top 5 most popular features, in order. 1. Root association networks, supporting learning by analogy. 2. Authentic contextual example sentences, ensuring natural usage. 3. Collocation information, preventing errors. 4. Clear difficulty grading, eliminating confusion. 5. Modular structure, offering flexibility. Improvement suggestions. Stakeholders jointly called for more audio recordings by native speakers to address pronunciation challenges, additional interactive fill-in-the-blank and multiple-choice exercises to supplement insufficient practice resources, and expanded coverage of regional variants such as Indonesian to meet cross-border communication needs.